Are you renting a car in Cyprus? Well, hold on the booking button, because first you should watch this video where you will find out how easy it is actually to rent and driving a car in Cyprus. How does it compare with public transportation? Is it complicated to find parking? And how expensive is actually renting a car or putting petrol, and so much more. But let's jump straight away into the video. The Republic of Cyprus has two airports. The first one is Petrol, which is on the western coast of Cyprus, and the second one is in Larnaca, which is twice the size, if not even more probably, the one in Pathos, which means that Larnaca is probably going to be the airport where you will find the cheapest fares to fly to Cyprus, and besides that also the most economical prices to rent a car, and for sure the wider choice too. If you fly to Larnaca, there is only one terminal. It's actually quite big in size. In fact, there is a fair walk from where you land to the custom and to the exit of the airport. But once you pass the custom and you got out, you will see a cafe just in front of you. If you go on the left side, just a couple of meters, you will find the on-site rental companies, which are mostly the global brands like Eurocars, Harvis, Hertz, and so on, plus another couple of local operators. If you rented your car with one of these operators, then you need just to check in, give all of your documents, and off you go. They will tell you then to go to the first floor through the escalator, where there is the big parking area of the rental cars, and you can pick up your car. As easy as that. If you rented a car through an off-site operator, then as you come out from the custom, you have to take the escalator, which is on the right side. That's the escalator that you have to take to go to the first floor. Once you come out from the airport, you will see a sign to go on the left side, and that's where you will find the shuttle area that will take you to the operator off-site. If you ask yourself what is the difference between on-site and off-site rental companies, obviously the easiest answer is that the car will be straight away at the airport. Meanwhile, with the off-site companies, you have to take a shuttle. But there is so much more than that next week actually I'm gonna publish a full video about the different rental companies that you can find in Cyprus, what works best, and I will give you also a few names of good rental companies and a couple of them that maybe you can avoid. And now, what car size would I suggest to rent in Cyprus? Honestly, any car size is good in Cyprus, because Cyprus doesn't have high mountains, you won't find any desert, so you may need a four-wheel drive if you're thinking and planning to do more off-road. So besides that, any type of car is gonna work. You can start with an economy car for 2, 3 or 4 people, and then you can go up based on the number of people actually in the car, or the type of experience you want to have in the island. Just a quick tip and a simple fact. First, the tip that is book as in advance as you can, because you're gonna have a wider availability and also a better price. I love visiting Cyprus in September or October, and if I check now in late May for the rented car in September, it would cost me like 20 euros a day for an economy car. Obviously, if I would rent the same car in late August, it would cost probably double as much, and I would have less choice. And then there is a simple fact that prices of cars would be more expensive in a peak season, which goes from June to late August. I've been traveling and hiring cars for a long time, and in the last 5 years I've been using a comparative website that ranks every single provider from 5 to 10 stars, based on the feedback of real customers like myself. What I usually do, I filter between 8 and 10 stars just to guess the most trusted providers, and then I simply book on the cheapest price. In this way, I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna get rid of all of the fishy providers, I'm gonna have a great price, and finally a great experience. With this website, I'm also able to add the full insurance for just 8 to 10 euros a day, which is a great peace of mind for my trip, because in case of any small scratch or little dent, I'm not gonna be charged maybe 400, 500 euros, which is the worst way actually to finish your holiday, isn't it? Just a quick interruption to ask you to subscribe to the channel, because it means a lot to me and the growth of the channel itself. But let's get back to the video. Do you need an international driving permit to drive in Cyprus? Well, it depends where you come from. If you come from any other European country, then your license is all you need. If your driving license is not in Latin letters, for example, if your driving license is in Chinese or Japanese or from any Arabic country, then you need to make an IDP, an international driving permit. That is going to translate your local driving license into an international driving license. But be aware that you need to have both licenses, your local license and the IDP when driving around Cyprus. If you come from any other country, like from Australia, from the US, typically the rental company do accept that license and they're gonna hire the car to you. However, you should also have an IDP, and this is what I usually do. An IDP costs only $10 to $20, so it's not that expensive, but I have more peace of mind, especially with my insurance and if the police stops me. How is actually driving in Cyprus and how do the locals drive? There are no really special rules when driving in Cyprus. In fact, if you come from Europe, you won't find much of a difference. If you come, for example, from the US, just be aware that you can't turn left on a red traffic light. But honestly, it's very similar to most of the countries in the world, except that in Cyprus, people drive on the left side of the road. So if you come from the UK or like myself from Australia, it's very easy going. But if you come from other countries, you need probably to budget a couple of days just to take it easy, follow the traffic more than leading the traffic. And possibly think about renting actually an automatic car, because it would be one less thing to think about. I find the locals driving in Cyprus are very easygoing, and personally I never run into troubles when driving in Cyprus. I just usually take it easy, never speed or compete with the locals. Honking is just part of experience, and honestly there is not much honking anyway in the major cities. So this is definitely not a problem when driving in Cyprus. One thing you should be aware about the island of Cyprus is that it is divided in two parts. The southern part of the island is the Republic of Cyprus, and that's where most likely you're gonna fly to either Paphos or Larnaca. And then there is the northern Cyprus. I don't want to go into the political part of it, but one important thing is that you can't drive your rented car in northern Cyprus. So basically you can't cross the border. Do you actually need to rent a car in Cyprus? Well, if you're thinking to fly to Cyprus just to get in your hotel, enjoy your local beach or your pool, and that's pretty much it, having a relaxing holiday by the sea, then probably you don't need a car. In most cases, the resort or the hotel, they can organize a car to pick you up. You may find a local bus take you maybe to the closest town or city, or alternatively, you can call a taxi for a short ride. Also, if you think about just moving between the major destinations, I'm thinking here about, for example, Paphos, Limassol, Hagia Napa, then the public transportation network is quite good. You can organize easily a bus from destination to destination. But things get a little bit more complicated if you want to move out from these major destinations. If you want, for example, to explore more of a coral bay on the east side of Cyprus, or if you want to have a spectacular sunset in Cape Greco, or if you want to see the Hydra shipwreck on the west coast, or even more if you want to explore one of the many beautiful villages inside the island or the wild and greener north coast of Cyprus. In that case, public transportation is not really an option because you won't have many available buses. And that's when a rented car comes so handy, because you're going to be flexible with any place we want to visit, and also anytime you want actually to explore a place. You can see so many beaches that otherwise you would miss with public transportation. Just keep in mind that even the local buses are not as reliable, besides not being as frequent. Taxi rides can also be quite expensive too. If you get a taxi, for example, for 5-10 minutes from your resort to a town, it may charge you 10 euros. But if you go 20 or 30 minutes, then the charge is gonna go up to 20, 30 or even 50 euros. So always ask actually before starting your ride. So overall, if you ask me what is better, well, if you want to explore more than the typical touristic destination of Cyprus, then renting a car is absolutely a great idea. But if you're thinking just about having a relaxing stay in your resort or only moving around the major destination, then public transportation is gonna work much better. And now, how are the roads and what are the speed limits that you're gonna find in Cyprus? Honestly, the quality of the roads is absolutely great, and on average, I think better than most of the southern European countries. It is a great highway that connects the east and the west coast of Cyprus, so you can drive from Hagia Napa to Larnaca to Limassol and finally to Paphos. And the speed limit on the highway is usually 100 km/h. And then you have more of a country road and secondary roads where the limit is 80 km/h. And when you drive in the urban areas, in the cities and the towns, typically the speed limit goes down to 50 km/h or even to 30 km/h. And one thing that is very important to keep in mind is that they do check the speed limit. So try to stick to the speed limit to avoid any possible fine. Traffic in Cyprus is absolutely reasonable, except on office peak hours around the cities, as you expect, and also in the evening night around the Limassol, which is one of the major destinations of Cyprus. Please, if you are aware of other areas, just leave it in the comment, because I may do a follow-up on this video later on with more information about the traffic too. Parking in Cyprus is not that bad. Just keep in mind a few things. If it is a double orange line on the side of the street, don't park there, because that's an area where you can't even stop. If it is a single orange line, then you can park the car to load and unload, but you can't leave it there. And if you do park in these areas, you're gonna get fined for 100 euros. Besides that, there are organized parking areas, usually with white lines, where you pay either to the parking holder or to the parking meters. And finally, there are other areas where parking is totally free. In the paid parking area, expect to pay between 50 cents and 1.5 euros per hour, with some areas charging you maybe 5 to 10 euros for the day parking, especially when you go to the major beaches or to the major destinations like Limassol. Now let me tell you about one of the most annoying things of Cyprus. In Cyprus there are two types of coins. The first one is the Bitcoin. Especially if you go to Limassol, it looks like every second person talks about Bitcoins and crypto. There is even a crypto club where maybe you're not able to find the gold diggers, but definitely Bitcoin diggers. And then there are the parking coins, because most of the parking meters do not accept credit cards. So keep always some coins with you into the car, because you may need them when parking the car in the cities or some beach areas. I know that in few towns they are migrating towards an app for parking, which is absolutely great, and I'm really looking forward to it. But for the moment, just keep the coins in the car. And now let's talk about the petrol and gas stations in Cyprus. Well, I'm gonna give you a couple of good news. First, there are petrol stations pretty much everywhere. Unless you drive in the north or center of the island, in that case, try to make petrol before actually starting the trip. And the second thing is about the cost of the petrol, which is cheaper, 30 to 40% than most of the other European countries, but still a tiny bit more expensive than the US or Australia. But overall, you don't need a mortgage like when you travel, for example, in Italy or Germany. At the petrol station, there is usually an attendant that is going to put the petrol into the car for you, and when there is none, feel free just to take the pump and start putting petrol into the car yourself. You can typically pay the petrol by credit card, so that's not a problem, but if you're driving inside the island, maybe you go to a small petrol station, then take some cash with you. Next to the petrol station, sometimes they also wash your car, so in case your car is very dirty because you have been renting it for a long time, I always suggest to have a quick wash, so the rental company is not going to charge you a super high fee for the washing. And now a couple of annoying things, of which one probably it's a scam, but you should know when renting a car in Cyprus. First off is the petrol policy. You can rent a car full for full, which means they're gonna give you the car with a full tank, and then you have to give it back with a full tank, which is absolutely great because you can make the petrol just before returning the car. Or sometimes you rent a car empty to empty, which is a little bit annoying because surely you will get an empty tank, but it will be very, very difficult to give back the car with an empty tank too. So make your calculation not to leave too much petrol into the car. The second thing, which is definitely a scam, a few companies may claim existing damages to your car when you give it back. So they may point to scratches or bumps that were already there when you rented the car. So the best suggestion I can give you is always to take photos and videos of both exterior and the interior of the car whenever you pick up the car. In this way you can document how was the car actually before you drove it. One thing I usually do is to take a full insurance, which I do on the website I mentioned before, for 8 to 10 euros a day, which is cover any kind of damage, even if it's pre-existing. In this way I'm sure 100% that I'm not gonna end the holiday with the best surprise. In saying that, take anyway the photos, because you're gonna avoid time spent in documenting the damages at the end of your rental. I hope I haven't forgotten anything in this video about renting a car in Cyprus, but please use the comment area to ask any question you may have. And with that, I'm gonna close the video, and if you're still with me, probably you appreciate the effort in making this video, so put a like, subscribe to the channel, and I see you in the next video. Ciao!